Well, parenting is a difficult task under normal circumstances. You add a pandemic and it makes it nearly impossible. And in fact, an article in Huffington Post Parenting describes it as being numb. And they say about half of all parents they spoke to, their stress level hovers somewhere between an 8 and a 10, which is pretty astounding. Take a listen to what they have to say. It's the constant of not knowing what the future holds. School, no school, maybe some school. Taking care of kids 24/7 while also working from home is taking a toll on parents.
I think we've all been going nonstop every single day, all day long for months on end. I think that's why ultimately people are just sort of shutting down a little bit emotionally.
Catherine Pearson is the senior reporter for HuffPo Parenting. She recently wrote an essay about the emotional transition many parents, including herself, are going through.
When schools closed and daycare closed, I was basically panicked all the time. I was terrified that my kids were going to get sick. I was terrified by everything that was happening around us in New York City. I was incredibly stressed about how I was going to get my work done. I'm numb.
So what does numb feel like?
Numb for me really feels like we're facing these really big decisions as parents about, if schools open, are we sending our kids to schools? How are we going to pay for childcare? How are we going to continue balancing work to the extent that that's possible? And these like never ending challenges of raising kids and not sort of having a strong emotional reaction to that, which is really startling.
Oh, a feeling that so many parents can commiserate with. Joining us now is psychotherapist and parent coach Olivia Bergeron. She has a practice in New York City called Mommy Groove Therapy and Parent Coaching. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Olivia. It sounds like a lot of doom and gloom, but the article mentions numbness. Is this something you're seeing with the parents that you counsel?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm certainly seeing a lot of this, the sense of numbness these days in particular. I think initially I was seeing a lot of panicking, high levels of anxiety. People were very, very worried. But as you mentioned in the report, it's much more difficult to maintain that level of high alert, that level of emergency mode for any length of time. We weren't designed to do that. So I think a lot of people instead have started to numb. And unfortunately, I see it's pretty pervasive these days.
I wonder though, Olivia, is that sense of urgency because, the writer we spoke to, she talks about as a parent, you're worried that your children are going to get sick. How does that, among other things you're worried about, how does that translate into this feeling of numbness?
Well, I think you can't stay in this state of high alert for any length of time. We were designed to go into fight or flight as a temporary situation, a temporary way to cope, a temporary way to get through. And it's been weeks and months now that people are feeling this sense of dread, this sense of high alert. I think the uncertainty is certainly playing into that. And so it becomes too overwhelming to feel that for any length of time. And so that's really contributing, I think, to this sense of numbness, this disconnection that instead people are really facing.
And that disconnection, how do you know that you are, as a parent, in that state of numbness, and how do you know if it's really a problem? I may feel numb, but I'm just kind of spacing out because I need a break, versus I'm numb, I cannot discern what is, perhaps right or wrong with my child.
Well, I think if it's lasting for any length of time, I think we all feel numb sometimes. But if you're noticing that it's lasting more than a week or two, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're having a hard time relating to your friends or your family, if you're isolating more than we already are, just by circumstance, then these are all signals that you need to take some steps to take action, to do something about it. And the good news is there are things you can actually do to help.
Well, that's what my next question is. How do you get yourself out of that funk? What are some recommendations? Because we see, parents come in all shapes and sizes and colors and creeds. Some of us are single parents, some of us have partners. Who do you talk to? How do you get out of this funk or this state of numbness?
Well, first, I think self-care. We can't take care of all the people around us if we're not taking care of ourselves. And I think a lot of parents, unfortunately, they become martyrs. They take excellent care of their children and their family members, but not such great care of themselves. So first of all, and this is small things. I mean, obviously, we're not doing anything gigantic these days because of our limitations. But are you drinking enough water? Are you eating properly? Getting enough rest and sleep? Getting some exercise in if you can. These are all small ways for sure, but I think they're very doable ways to start to build that self-care back in, so you start to feel more in control and in charge of things again. And certainly if you are engaging in that self-care, reaching out and finding ways to connect. Numbness is all about disconnection. So are you able to reach out to friends and family just to say hello, being honest with them, letting them know that you need some help, and telling them pretty concretely ways that they can do that. So if you need somebody to check in on you, for instance, just to let them know that they're out there, that they care about you, tell them. So, tell your friends, your family, listen, I would really appreciate it.
Olivia Bergeron,
Absolutely. And
sadly
then,
we are running out of time, but I appreciate the time. Sadly, we're running out of time, but I really do appreciate those tips for all of our parental viewers.
Thank you so much.